And on to another big story of the day. The Supreme Court today came down heavily on the State Bank of India in the electoral bonds matter. The court dismissed the SBI's plea seeking extension till June 30th for revealing electoral bonds details to the Election Commission. The Supreme Court has set a 24-hour deadline, asking the SBI to furnish all details to the poll panel by tomorrow. Additionally, the Apex Court directed the Election Commission to publish information shared by SBI no later than 5 p.m. on March 15th. Pulling up the State Bank of India, Supreme Court asked, what steps did SBI take in the past 26 days between the previous order and now? The National Bank has also told the court that there was more time needed for collating details and matching them, as the information was kept in two different silos. The bench said that it had not directed the bank to match the details of donors and recipients, and this latest decision by the Supreme Court has been welcomed by opposition leaders. Rahul Gandhi took to Twitter to say that Chande ka dhanda will now be exposed. Hailing the verdict as a victory of transparency and accountability, Congress chief Mallikarjun Kharge accused the Modi government of making all possible efforts to cover up its dark deeds. Sharad Pawar's party, the NCP, has said that SBI has been turned into the Swiss Bank of India now.
देश बच जाएगी अगर सुप्रीम कोर्ट जागते रहे तो। जब तक सुप्रीम कोर्ट जागे रहेंगे तब तक हमारा देश बचते रहेंगे।
It's absolutely necessary that there is full disclosure well before the election is announced, and I think that's only fair in a democracy, that the people know that who are the ones who have contributed financially to a political party and whether any other benefits have been given to those contributors.
We welcome the fact that the Supreme Court has dismissed the plea of the SBI, and this is in the interest of transparency of political funding in the country, and particularly electoral funding.
What SBI expected was to drag this issue so that they don't come out with data about the donors of the bond till the elections are over. In that way, it is a success that we will at least know the amount of money donated by each corporate houses.
BJP remains tight-lipped on the Supreme Court verdict. Union Minister Rajiv Chandrasekhar refused to comment when the question was asked. Listen in.
In another matter, the Supreme Court had asked SBI to give out the details of electoral bonds by 5.
You correctly said in another matter. So it is another matter. Sharia. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, and Times Now has accessed the Supreme Court order in the poll bonds case. Now, the details of this particular Supreme Court order have been accessed by our legal editor, Harish Nair. In fact, we have more details on the kind of data that we could possibly be looking at. Let's quickly go across to Harish Nair, who's joining us for more on this. Harish, can you take us through what is the specifics of the data that we can expect in terms of this particular order? What does the order specifically say?
In fact, Madhav, as you rightly said, in fact, though the SBI had sought an extension by 3.5 months, all that it got is 1 day. That is, by tomorrow evening, they have to furnish all the details to the Election Commission of India. And in fact, we all know that even the Election Commission of this State Bank of India has been put on notice by the Supreme Court, with Chief Justice very clearly saying that any willful disobedience of this court's order will be taken very seriously. But Madhav, there is an extra point, very interesting point in the order which has been uploaded on the website, which means that till the Election Commission of India publishes entire details forwarded by the State Bank of India by 5 p.m. on 15th. By then, before that, the Election Commission of India has been directed to publish whatever details it already has. In fact, several sealed covers have been given by the Election Commission of India to the Supreme Court, and this para 15 of the order says that during the pendency of the proceeding before the Constitution Bench, Election Commission had, in compliance with the interim order passed by this court, filed its statements which have been maintained in the custody of the court. Copies of statements which were filed by Election Commission. Very big decision over there. In fact, let me quickly go across to Kritsween. Kritsween, in fact, Harish is reading out a very important part. If you can quickly scroll up to para 15, because the para 15, as per Harish, says that the Election Commission will have to
filed the statements which have been maintained in the custody of the court, and the copies of those statements filed before the ECI would in fact be maintained and they would not have to be published. Quickly take us through that particular portion, Christine.
The portion, Madhav, limited to para 13, 14, 15, 16. Of course, 13, 14 talk about the deadline set by the court, but I'm going to quickly go across to 15. As is being asked by you, during the pendency of the proceedings before the Constitution Bench, ECI had, in compliance with the interim order passed by this court, filed its statements which have been maintained in the custody of the court. Copies of the statements which were filed by the ECI before this court would be maintained in the office of the ECI, and this is where it gets important. ECI shall forthwith publish the details
very
of
interesting.
the information which was supplied to the court.
Very interesting. What is this ECI data, and what will that data really reveal? Will it really talk more about the specifics of those particular poll bonds? Harish Nair, I'd like to thank you, our legal editor, for joining us with that breaking story, and Christine for taking us through that particular judgment on the big screen. Let's quickly take this across to our guest now. Joining us, Tushar Gupta, political analyst, and Ghanshyam Tiwari, spokesperson of the Samajwadi Party. Tuhin Sinha, I'm going to come to you first. Tuhin and Tehseen continue with us from debate number 1. Rahul Gandhi says, Chande ke dhande ki poll khulne wali hai. Is that what we're going to see, Tuhin?
Well, Madhav, the rationale behind electoral bonds was very clear. The intent was twofold. One was to weed out unaccounted cash from India's political system, which has clearly been achieved. And number two was to prevent unnecessary and willful demonization and vilification of wealth creators in the country, which anyway Rahul Gandhi has been doing ad nauseum. So I think these were the two objectives. Now, when it comes to the judicial case, I think it is between the SBI and the Honorable Supreme Court, and I think the SBI will do whatever the Supreme Court decides. Today, the Council of SBI had clearly mentioned some practical difficulties, but like I said, it is between the SBI and the Supreme Court, and we would honor the decision of the Supreme Court.
All right. Tehseen, let me put that question across to you. When Rahul Gandhi says, Chande ke dhande ki poll khulne wali hai, are you celebrating a little too early? Because if that information and the data is actually in two different silos and nobody can decode who has given how much to which party, what's there to celebrate? Tehseen?
The Honorable Prime Minister came into power in 2004. The Honorable Prime Minister of India came into power in 2014 promising to reveal details of the Swiss bank. His government is now forcing the SBI to reveal details of the SBI bank. The fact of the matter is, if this is to bring in transparency and to not allow for black money and unaccounted money, as my friend Tuhin said, then if it is transparency, why not put it before the court? And if it isn't transparent, then how is it not vague? Now, just answer one question. This is the point we had raised before the Supreme Court. If somebody donated, say, 200 crores by bond to, say, the BJP or the Congress, how do they expect, how does the common citizen, that is you and I, not know, we don't know who it is, but the BJP or the Congress will know who the donor is, because the person who's donated by the bond number, he has the bond number, will go and tell the BJP president or Congress president, listen, this 200 crores that is coming by, this bond is actually my money. He will tell it before the money reflects. So the political party knows, the citizens don't know. SBI knows, but it refuses to tell the Supreme Court, when the whole exercise is to make it transparent and non-complicated. Therefore, I'm saying what the government has is a lot to hide. In any civilized democracy, the SBI chairman should have stepped down today after what the Supreme Court said. I'm shocked, I'm embarrassed that the SBI chairperson, the SBI is a fantastic bank. It's a magnificent institution. I'm angry that he's allowed this to happen. He should not drag his post down to this.
Let me bring Tushar into that. Tushar, at the end of the day,
of what he's done today in the Supreme
Court. Got your point. At the end of the day, what Tehseen is saying is on the basis of the court's questions to the SBI, saying that we're putting the SBI on notice. What have you done in the last 26 days? Why has there been no compliance? As a public sector bank, even asking a question whether there were any instructions from the government. So certainly, the Supreme Court's observations have not painted SBI or its actions in a very good light.
On the contrary, Madhav, the whole electoral bond issue has become a speculation slugfest of sorts. It's absolutely a speculation slugfest, nothing else. Now, if the opposition is trying to establish a quid pro quo, or rather assuming one, between the donor and the political party, which may or may not run a government in the center or the state, how are they so sure that corruption did happen? If you're saying that there is a certain degree of corruption, expose it through tenders or the contracts that were given. You can't look at the electoral bond list. Number two, 57% of the amount came to the BJP through electoral bonds. That corresponds to roughly 56% of the MPs they have in the lower house of the parliament. Now, the probability, if we talk proper mathematics, probability of any electoral bond being attributed to the BJP is almost equal to that of the opposition. So tomorrow, if someone picks up an electoral bond and says, hey, has this gone to the BJP or has this gone to the opposition? It's very hard to say. Number three, and the most important point, when the donors were making those donations through electoral bond, which is a legitimate manner because it requires a non-cash transaction and KYC before the bond being brought, they were assured that their right, their privacy would be guaranteed. The corporation's money, the corporation's right, wherever they wish to donate any party, be it the Congress, be it the BJP, be it the Aam Aadmi Party. Just in retrospective, the court says that you have to tell us who these donors were and who they were donating to which party. That is absolutely wrong. That's against the privacy. Again, if you want to establish a quid pro quo, you won't establish it in electoral bonds because the probability of them going to the BJP or to the opposition is almost the same.
Okay.
If you're establishing corruption, show it on the ground. That the opposition has.
I want to bring in Ghanshyam on that. The privacy of the donors is being violated because this is an assurance that was given to them on the basis of a law enacted by Parliament. Point number one. And point number two, Ghanshyam, is that several political parties, not just the Congress party, even opposition parties, including Samajwadi Party, which you represent, they have taken electoral bonds in the past. And in the case of some of your allies, like the TMC, 97%, in the DMK, 86% of their funding has come from this method. So there are those who are questioning that with what basis is the opposition taking the moral high ground? Leaving aside perhaps the left parties, almost every regional party has also utilized this scheme.
Good evening, Madhav, to you, the viewers and co-panelists. It's a good joke. Thank you. That today, a government that stands buck naked in front of people of India, in front of the court, has to use this kind of tactics. When this BJP said that in 100 days they'll bring Swiss money to India, they have turned the SBI into Swiss Bank of India, where it's not the chairman who should resign. This model of corruption, it's the Prime Minister who should resign, or at least the Finance Minister. But a party that stands buck naked, a government that stands buck naked, is trying to find diversionary tactic. If anybody looks at the BJP donations between 2001 to 2013, roughly 3,000 crores. And 2014 onwards, every year, 1,500 crores, 2,000 crores, 3,000 crores. Where is this money coming from? Where did BJP get to between 2016 to 2022? 10,122 crores. This money comes from corruption. And by the way, right to privacy, yes.
How can you say that conclusively?
Quid pro quo. Mehul Choksky, right to privacy. Nirav Modi, right to privacy. Vijay Mallya, right to privacy. Yes, all these people had their right to privacy and they left. They left with thousands of crores that this government allowed them to leave with. They are not back. So tomorrow when your viewers read the newspaper, read carefully. Because a government that came on the plank of anti-corruption stands buck naked.
All right, we're completely out of time. Tuhin Sinha, Tushar Gupta, Tehseen Purawala, Ghanshyam Tiwari, we certainly haven't heard the last word yet. And it will be interesting tomorrow because tomorrow is the time where not just the Election Commission, as our legal editor was telling us, which has earlier made certain submissions, will have to put that out on its website, but also the data will have to be given by SBI to the Election Commission, and that has to be then published by the 15th of March on the ECI's website. So certainly haven't heard the last word yet on this entire controversy. Thanks so much for joining us on the debate on the Newshour Agenda.